In the wake of its 2022 invasion of Ukraine, Russia was widely expected to face severe and prolonged international isolation. The United States and its Western allies imposed a broad array of economic sanctions and diplomatic penalties aimed at crippling the Russian economy and turning President Vladimir Putin into a global pariah. While this strategy has had a significant impact on Russia's ties with the Euro-Atlantic community, it has not achieved the intended goal of complete isolation. Instead, a new geopolitical reality is emerging, where Russia is finding a growing embrace among a significant number of nations, particularly in the global south. This shift is not a sign of moral approval for Russia's actions in Ukraine, but rather a reflection of a deeper, ongoing recalibration of global power. For these nations, their relationships with Russia are driven by a combination of pragmatic economic interests, historical alliances, and a shared desire to challenge a unipolar world order dominated by the West. Reasons and consequences. The primary reason for Russia's growing influence is the failure of Western sanctions to be universally adopted. While the G7 and EU nations have enforced strict measures, many other countries, including major economies like India and China, have not. This has allowed Russia to pivot its trade and energy exports eastward and southward, creating new economic lifelines. For instance, India has become a top buyer of discounted Russian oil, providing a crucial revenue stream for Moscow while simultaneously benefiting its own energy security. This has also exposed the limitations of Western influence and the unwillingness of many nations to align their foreign policies solely with Washington's agenda. Another key factor is the emergence of a multipolar world order. For decades, the US and its allies set the rules of international relations, but this is being actively challenged by a new bloc of nations. Organizations like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are serving as platforms for this alternative vision. At recent summits, leaders from these countries have stood with Putin, presenting a united front against what they view as Western hegemony. This isn't just about economics. It's a political statement that they are no longer beholden to the old order and are willing to forge new alliances based on shared interests rather than shared values. The consequences of this are profound. It fragments the global community, making collective action on issues from climate change to international security increasingly difficult. It also creates a two-tiered international system, one centered on the US and another that is more decentralized and non-aligned. Prediction and solutions. Looking ahead, this trend is likely to continue and intensify. Western sanctions, while painful for Russia, are not likely to lead to a total collapse. Instead, they will force Russia to further diversify its relationships and build more robust, non-dollar-based economic systems with its new partners. The de-dollarization of international trade, a goal long pursued by nations like China, will accelerate as these blocs seek to insulate themselves from US financial pressure. We can predict that Russia will deepen its military, economic, and technological cooperation with China and continue to use its vast energy and natural resources to forge new partnerships in Africa and Latin America. The upcoming SCO and BRICS summits will be critical in charting this new course. For Western nations, a rigid focus on isolation may prove ineffective and counterproductive. A potential solution lies not in abandoning their principles, but in adjusting their strategy. Instead of a blanket approach, they could adopt a more nuanced diplomacy that acknowledges the legitimate interests of other nations. This might involve engaging in dialogue with Global South leaders, offering economic incentives, and demonstrating that a relationship with the West is not a zero-sum game that necessitates cutting ties with Russia. The focus should shift from punishment to competition, offering a more attractive and sustainable alternative to Russia's emerging network. Ultimately, the new global stage requires more sophisticated statecraft that recognizes the diverse motives and strategic autonomy of nations that are not willing to choose a side.